Okay, let's talk a little bit about Jacinda Ardern. Come on, James. What is this? What is she up to?
Well, Jacinda Ardern, you know, I was saying earlier this week, I think we need to have this thing. We call it the Trudeau Index, and it basically is the more a leader is loved around the world and feted on Time magazine's covers and things like that, the less popular she is at home. And this week she came over to Sydney for some bilateral talks, and she went and she had a big spray at Scott Morrison right in front of him at a joint news conference saying, oh, well, it is so unfair that you in Australia keep sending back Kiwi criminals who are not Australian citizens, sending them back to us in New Zealand. That's not the spirit of mateship and all of that. And it was clearly designed, I think, for domestic consumption. But coming on the wake of that High Court decision the other week, it's also, I think, a real example of how the left is now trying to rewrite citizenship and residency, not on what your passport is, but on the vibe of the thing.
I just find it incredible that the Prime Minister of New Zealand would come to our country and try to dictate what our border protection and immigration policies are based on nothing. There's no substance to her argument.
Well, there never is.
At the end of the day, there are New Zealand citizens. It doesn't matter if they were here 5 minutes or 50 years. If they are citizens of New Zealand, that's where they get deported. It's all based on the vibe of the thing. She seems to want to create a new category.
Exactly.
Real New Zealand citizens.
Well, let's have a listen to what she said.
Citizens.
Let's just have a quick listen to what she said. See if you can make head nor tail of what she's on about.
Australia is well within its rights to deport individuals who break your laws. New Zealand does the same. But we have a simple request. Send back Kiwis, genuine Kiwis. Do not deport your people and your problems.
You see, this is complete nonsense. She's saying, send back genuine Kiwis, but we are sending back genuine Kiwis. And then she's saying, oh, if you happen to be a Kiwi who thinks you're Australian, then that's it.
Is it this that you identify as Australian?
Exactly. So genuine Kiwi no longer means Kiwi citizen. No. It means where you feel most comfortable. And she's not only just absurd in putting forward that argument, but she's an absolute hypocrite, because New Zealand has been deporting scores of people, and some of them, just like one of the cases she described, grew up in New Zealand, identify as New Zealanders. All their family and work links are in New Zealand. And yet New Zealand deported them. So for her to come here and try to tell us how to run our immigration policy when she's not even practising it at home is...
Well, hypocrisy comes very easily to the leader of New Zealand. She wanders around the South Pacific lecturing Australia, big, bad, evil Australia, on climate change and on carbon emissions.
And of course...
And we actually meet our Paris commitments. New Zealand does not meet its Paris commitment. And worse, New Zealand exempted all their cattle and sheep, the farting cows and sheep, from their Paris. So there's nothing that they even need to do, and they're still not meeting. What a hypocrite.
Well, complete hypocrite, but, you know, here in Australia, the left just eats it up because they love nothing more than somebody from another country coming here and telling us how awful we are.
But can I ask you, too, how you thought Scott Morrison handled it? Because I watched that press conference live, and he had this bemused look on his face where you could almost see he's thinking, do I go hard and just tear apart these absurd arguments she's putting forward, or is that not worth the backlash I'm going to receive from the bulk of the media? Do I just be polite? So how do you think he handled that? Do you think he held back? And would he have gone stronger if it was a male leader standing next to him?
I mean, look, I think, probably was, as you say, running through that calculation. And if he, went her and said, no, hang on, Jacinda, it would have been him who got all of the blame, and it would have been just, 3 or 4 or 5 days of headlines. What an embarrassment Scott Morrison is. What a misogynist Scott Morrison is. I think that he was smart. You have to pick your battles. And since that happened just a couple of days ago, most of the commentary has been very much on the side that we're saying right now, which is that Jacinda Ardern's argument is utterly ridiculous.
Not the Canberra Press Gallery and the bulk of social media.
He's saying we're on the same side as the mainstream media. Wash your mouth out.
No. I'm saying we've seen plenty of people make the point that these are Kiwi criminals. But if he had turned it into a thing where he became the bad guy here, he would have just been absolutely dragged from pillar to post.
Well, I just resent how there's this some politicians are protected, whatever it is that protects them. And in the case of Jacinda Ardern, I don't think it's her gender, because you've been seeing female politicians being attacked mercilessly. Priti Patel in the UK at the moment just copying unhinged abuse. But it seems with Jacinda, if you have even the mildest criticism of her, it is painted as some sort of horrific crime against all womanhood.
Well, I'll be fascinated to see the New Zealand election later in the year. I think she only got 36% of whatever it was last time. She was put into power by basically their version of One Nation. Again, the hypocrisy is astonishing.